Good afternoon, Year 9. So today we're going to do multiplying in algebra. You have been doing this since Year 7 and 8, so it's nothing new and you shouldn't be finding this difficult. So in algebra you can multiply anything you like. So we don't need to be looking for like terms, that's just for adding and subtracting. We can multiply anything. So the first thing you do is multiply your numbers. Use your calculator so you don't get that wrong. And then you're going to multiply your letters. Now sometimes those letters are going to have powers or indices. So you've got to remember the index rule. When multiplying things with the same base, keep that base and add the indices. But we'll get to that probably a bit later. Okay, so today the examples we're doing, they're pretty easy. All you have to do is see that you're multiplying. Use your calculator to multiply your numbers and you'll get 40. And then you just write your letters on the end. So we're writing the X on the end. In this next question, you can see we're multiplying. There's only one number here, it's the 6. So you can just write that straight down. Now, with the T's, remember we are still multiplying our letters. So we're doing T times T. So if you're not sure, just come to the side. T times T is T squared. So you write that down, okay? T times T equals T squared. If you want, you can write the index of 1 up here and you can see we're adding our indices. Okay, so 1 plus 1 equals 2 at the top. All right, the next one, you can see we're multiplying. So multiply your numbers with your calculator. 4 times 3 is 12. Then we've just got our letters D and E, just write them on the end. You only need to use the index rules when you're dealing with the same letter. These are different, so you just write them on the end. Okay, this next question has been written with brackets in it. But really there's no need for those brackets. There's nothing inside that bracket that needs to be worked out. So we can get rid of the bracket and just write it down without the bracket. Same over here, there's nothing in there to be worked out, so just write it down without the bracket. Now you can see we're multiplying, so we're going to multiply our numbers. Now make sure with this one that you type in your calculator -5 times -4. The calculator will give you 20, and then you're going to use your own brain to be doing the letters. A times A, it's a bit like this one up here, so A times A is A squared. Okay, the next one, E. When you have a bracket with a power outside it, you have to make sure that you do the number to that power and the letter to that power. So if we use our calculator and do 5 squared, it will give you 25. So we're going to write that 25 down first. And then you're going to do the letters yourself. So n squared is just n squared. And that's the answer to that. Now the next questions are all based on some shapes. So it asks you to do a simplified algebraic expression for the area. So with all of these shapes, you need to know your area formulas. So this is where with maths, topics start actually melding together so that you're doing a few things in one go. So you can never forget the earlier stuff you've learnt. So in this question, it is a rectangle and you do need to know the area of a rectangle formula. So I've written it down here. That's the first line of our working. Now the length is 3a and we're timesing, because there's a times between the L and the B. So we're timesing by the breadth, which is 2d. And now we're doing what we did a minute ago. So we're going to multiply your numbers on your calculator. 3 times 2 gives you 6. And then you just write your letters on the end, AD. Okay, the next question, B. They've given you a triangle. The area of a triangle formula is half BH. You'll need to know those things. They're not going to tell you those in the exam. You need to know it. Okay, so we're going to write down a half times, don't forget there's times signs in here. So a half times the base is 6y times the perpendicular height is 4p. So on your calculator, you can times all those things together. You just type in 1/2 times 6 times 4 press equals. All right, the calculator will give you 12. And after you've done that with the calculator, you put your letters on the end. We have YP. Or you could write PY if you wanted to. All right, now C is a bit harder. So this is a composite shape. It involves two areas that we need to find. So you can split this L-shaped looking thing down here to create two rectangles, or you can create two rectangles by going straight across there. So you have that one and the one down the bottom. So it doesn't matter which way you go, you still get the same answer if you've done it properly. So I'm just going to go straight down here. So just get your red pen and draw straight down. I'm going to call this one area 1, and I'm going to call this one area 2. And actually the way I've divided it up makes it a lot easier than going the other way. So sometimes it won't make any difference and other times it will. So if you kind of draw a line and go, oh, that's great, I don't need to find anything extra here, then just work with that. Sometimes if you go the other way, you might have made your life hard. All right, so here's our shape for area 1. That's a rectangle. So we've got our length by breadth formula. So our length we're going to say is 4k and our breadth c. So we have 4k times c. All right, now there's nothing to work out on the calculator because we only have one number of 4. So write it down. Then you're going to put your letters on the end. K, C. Right, we're over here to what I've called area 2. It's really important you label these things so you can follow what you're doing and the person marking it can follow your working as well. So this is a rectangle. The length I'm going to say is 3c times, I'm going to call the breadth this one here, so that's 2k. Right, so now you go to your calculator and you do 3 times 2, which is 6, and then write your C and K on the end. Okay, now we have to total these two areas. So you can imagine if this was, quite often people have L-shaped lounge dining areas, and if this is all going to be covered with the same flooring or the same carpet, you would need to add these areas together. So we're going to write 4kc, the answer for the first area, plus 6ck, the answer for the second area. Now, at this point, you are not multiplying, you are adding. So we have to remember what we did last lesson. When you're adding or subtracting, you are adding and subtracting like terms. Now, this one and this one are like terms. They both have a C and a K. Remember that the order doesn't make any difference. So on your calculator, you can do 4 plus 6, and that gives you 10. And just write KC or CK on the end of that. Okay, we're coming back in a minute to do one more example on multiplying, and then we're going to do dividing.